So our final guest is Elaine Lee. She has a book and she's published the second edition of it. And it came out years ago. It's a travel guide called Go Girl. And she has done an update called Go Girl 2, the Black Woman's Book of Travel and Adventure. So she's going to tell us why she decided to do another edition of the book. When did the first book come out? Well, first of all, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Thank you. And thank you for being flexible. We had to cancel that other show because of the power outage. So we just had everybody rebooked for for tonight. So thank you and you're joining us from California, correct?
San Francisco.
Oh, okay. So it's nice and daylight where you are.
Yes, and warm as it is.
It's nice and nighttime here.
Oh,
yeah, it is too. And she's on the East Coast. I'm in Texas, so it just got dark. You know, the days are getting shorter again.
I'm in the DC area, so it is 9:30 at night here.
Goodness. Yeah. But we got the country covered, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
We do coast to coast.
Yeah.
So first, what made you write the first edition of Go Girl?
Well, I tell you, when I was taking my very first trip around the world in '92, I had never met a Black woman who had accomplished such a feat. It was actually terrifying for me to not have a role model. And I was reluctant to actually take that trip. And after it was over and I had such a glorious time, 6 months on the road. And I thought, wow, I want other Black women to have this experience. And I don't want them to have the fear that I had, as well as all the difficulty I had in planning everything. So that inspired me. And there weren't any other travel books around. There hadn't been a travel book out since the Green Book back in the 60s that was created to help Black Americans navigate the United States in light of Jim Crow and American apartheid. So it's just a hard time, you know. There needs to be a travel book for Black folks. So that's what inspired me. And I loved my trip so much. I said I wanted to make travel a permanent part of my life. And I said, well, I love to travel. I love to write. I think I'll become a travel writer. That's what I did.
Now, when you created this book, did you choose the cities that you wanted in the book and then travel to those cities, or did you start with all the places where you'd been before and then put those into the book?
Well, actually, it's an anthology. So it's a compilation of Black women's travel stories, 54 different travel stories from Black women all over the world.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
And so, and my voice and my travel stories are bracket the book. They're in the front and the back. And also, so I wanted to have stories on traveling to Africa, which is the first chapter. And the second chapter is traveling the diaspora, where the slaves were taken. And then lastly, other places in the world, I call it tripping around the world, like Indonesia, India, Italy. Yes. And then there's a planning guide and a resource guide. So that's kind of how I did it.
Oh, I should have been in the book. I've been in a few little places now.
You have, Rhonda. You've been more. I've only been to 2 continents. So that's North America and South America. So I mean, and I live in North America. So
let's see.
I plan to go next year. Okay, so
I've been to Africa. I've been to
Europe.
Asia. Where else have I been?
Of course,
North America.
Have you been to Australia?
I have not, but when I was stationed in Egypt years ago, I was on a multinational base. And so it felt like, you know, there were so many different countries represented on that base. And depending on the area of the base that you went to, you felt like you were in that country. So each country had their own bar, and they set the bars up like their country. So if you went to the French bar, then you were basically in a French atmosphere. You know, you'll see the flags up. They had their French style drinks. They had their wines and all of that. And then let's say you decided you don't want to be in France anymore. You wanted to go to New Zealand. You can go to their area, and you learned a lot about their area. And then each country had their own national day where they would celebrate their
Hmm.
culture, and that was my favorite thing. So that was when I got to see the New Zealand haka, and I got to see the Kiwi. I mean, excuse me, not the Kiwi, but the Fijian haka.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that was when I really got to spend time with Fijians. And I remember one man told me, he goes, "Why do you Americans think that I'm not black? I'm a black man too. Just because I'm from Fiji does not mean that I'm not a black man." And I was like, "You make a lot of sense." you know,
Mm.
and it was just good getting to know other cultures and just how they saw the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved my time in Egypt just because of the base I was on. I loved visiting Egypt and Israel while I was there, but just being on the base and experiencing all of those different cultures was just something that I'll never forget. So I'm blessed that I was able to spend that time there.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
Kind
Now,
of
what
like the
made you
World's
go around
Fair.
the, yeah,
Mm.
what made you go around the world in 1992?
Well, initially I was going to go to Africa and for my second visit, and I was looking at the prices of the tickets, and then in this travel group I belonged to, someone said, "Well, why don't you check the prices for round the world airline tickets?" Which I did. I went to AirTrex, which that's what they specialize in is round the world airline tickets,
It's
and it was
amazing.
cheaper for me to go around the world than it was for me just to go directly to Africa. So I was like, well, I'll go around the world and I'll stop in Africa on the way.
How
And
So
do you
I never
how do you do
realized,
that?
and it never even hit me. The
That's
thought never occurred
information.
to me that there are tickets that you can buy where you can go around the world. I guess are these travel agencies, or are there airlines that specialize in this? How do
both.
you find something
Oh,
like that?
yeah, one is cheaper than the other. The one I use, AirTrek, is called the Bucket Shop, and somehow or another they buy odd lots from all these different airlines because you basically are end up flying basically standby. But you buy this around the world airline ticket. You have to complete it in a year. You have to go the
Okay.
same direction, and they usually give you like 8 different routes to pick from. So,
Wow.
and then I picked a route that I liked, and yeah, and then and like United Airlines has a round the world ticket as well, but theirs are like $5,000, and AirTrack is like $2,000 to $2,500. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Wow. So
so that
what
was the
about your
thing.
accommodations? How did you figure that out?
Well,
Where you
it
were gonna stay?
varies. Yeah, there I just in those in those days you had to carry travel books and
Okay.
you have to figure all this out as you went along. But now
Now you have
I belong to a home exchange and a hospitality exchange club. So I oftentimes either swap homes with people or I'll accept their hospitality and stay in their homes, which makes things a lot cheaper and an opportunity to be immersed into a culture, which is a wonderful thing to do.
I had a
So,
friend who introduced me to hostels, because
mhm,
hostels in Europe are actually a lot nicer
yes,
than the ones in the United States. So you could
yes,
stay in a hostel and spend a night there. It's super cheap, but they're not dangerous. They're not even, a lot of them aren't even dirty.
no,
They're just overnight places where you can spend the night and then go on your way. And I did it one time when I was stationed in Belgium. I
mhm,
wanted to go to London to see Dreamgirls,
okay,
and I didn't want to spend a lot of money on a hotel, so I took the train from Belgium to London. And then I went and saw the play, and then I checked into the hostel, got a couple hours of sleep, and then the next morning I was up and back to the train station to go home. I'm
oh
like, I'm not
wow,
spending a lot of money on this.
no, of course not. Yeah, a lot of them are wonderful. I stayed in hostels in Greece and in Singapore, and they were
mm,
absolutely actually beautiful. So,
Yes.
and
now
then
now
also
how would
now I do
mm,
Airbnb, works out
right. I was
quite a
gonna say
bit.
that's like a precursor to
Yeah,
Airbnb.
and then yes, and I also do couch surfing sometimes as well.
Oh,
Now
you
how do
couch
you
surfing. That's
is
brave.
Yes,
did she say house surfing or couch surf?
couch,
Couch
couch.
surfing.
Yeah, couch.
Oh,
Yes, you can sleep on people's couches. There's all the network of people around the world who say you could come sleep on my couch if you're in the area. So You join the
Wow.
group and you just post, I'm coming to your area. Can I sleep on your couch? And they'll say yes.
Well, you sound adventurous now. Why? And that's an understatement. Now, how are you able to take 6 months and like take a 6 month vacation, essentially?
Well, actually, I decided at age 40 that I wanted to take a trip around the world, and I went and saw a financial planner. And she and I crafted a plan on how to do my finances and how to do investments. And she said within 2 years, you should be able to retire, for a while and see the world. So that was how I did it. I'm a lawyer by profession, so that helped a little bit as well. And it's something I could always come back to, but I was able to dismantle my law practice and put my show on the road. But I had to make some sacrifices and a lot of planning. But actually, United States and Europe are what's really expensive. Once you get out of United States and Europe, everything is pretty cheap. I mean, I was living like a queen in Bali, Indonesia, on $10 a day. So,
You're right. You're
so
right.
yeah.
Well, as you're
Good
talking,
to
I
know.
remember a friend of mine when I was living in Belgium. I had a good friend in the United States who said that she was coming to my area. I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, that's great! I get to see you." She said, "Yeah, I took a year off, and it was some type of a program where they spend like 2 to 3 months in different countries. So
Okay.
she was going to spend, I think, 3 months in Brussels. So I was able to see her there. And then she would take another 3 months in another country. And they did that for an entire year.
Wow.
And she actually didn't take a year off from work. She was able to work it out to where she was working remote with her job. So
Mm-hmm.
she would log in at night for her job. And then she'd go sightseeing or whatever during the day. And, of course, get rest where she could. But she did that for, I think she wound up leaving the program early, but she did it for maybe I think maybe 6 months or something like that, and then she wound up going back home
Yeah.
because she just said it was a lot trying to log in at night because that was the way they made their money. They had to keep their jobs.
Yeah. Well, now
Yeah,
you got
but
all these digital nomads, a lot of people
yeah,
work,
yeah, yeah,
work
yeah,
remotely. So, it seems like Black women, folks in general, are just out there, claiming
Yeah.
their global citizenship and, enjoying life in other countries.
Yeah, that's
I
something
like
my
it.
daughter says she wants to be able to, she's trying to get her own business launched on the side. She
Mm-hmm.
says because she wants to be able to work from anywhere and travel.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you better do it before you have children, or you have to wait till they're grown. So
Yeah.
that's
Or
but
like some people I know, they just travel with their children. And it's so amazing how women help other women. They see a woman with a child, you'd be surprised how, in most cultures,
mhm.
your other women gravitate to women with children to help them. Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, what made you do the updated version, the Go Girl 2?
Many for several
And
reasons. One,
do you have a copy of the
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask is, do you have a
okay.
copy of the books? Because I
yeah,
don't think we saw a
here's
copy.
here's what it looks like. Go
Yeah,
Girl, a
okay.
Black
Okay.
woman's book of travel and adventure.
Uh, okay.
Are
And
those are those your pictures or are those AI or
no, no, they're not. There's a couple AIs in here, but it's mainly the contributors to the book. Again, the
wonderful?
54
Okay.
Black women who contributed to the book. So most of these are contributors. Yes.
I love
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I really am gonna. Yeah, I love the way the designer did it as well. And it was just high time. My first book came out 27 years ago, and it was like it's high time to have yet another
Wow.
one and to bring in the voices of a whole new generation of travel writers. I saved some of the great stories from the first book, and those are in here, as well as a whole plethora of new stories. And as well as now things are updated. I'm not talking about traveler's checks or guidebooks. I'm talking about, GPS and, ATMs and now the new way to travel the world. So it was just time. And then I also added a fourth chapter on travel philosophy, and it had and theories of different women like who started their own travel business, and women talking about their experience as being going to their majority Black culture or country. And so kind of like a psychological, sociological chapter as well, instead of just destinations. But it is the same format as Go Girl 1, chapter on traveling to Africa, chapter on the diaspora, and thirdly, a chapter on other places in the world, and a planning guide and a resource guide. So no excuse for people to not see the world. This is a ticket to
Exactly,
ride.
because I mean, you've made it easy for everybody to just get out there and do it.
You
Yes,
make it sound like it's and it is. It's all about what you want to do.
yes,
You know,
prioritizing.
figure out how to get it done.
Well, you have all of these women who told their stories. Do you include any tips on somebody who may want to venture out for the first time, but maybe they're a little nervous about doing it? Because, you know, right
Yes.
now, as much as I like to travel by myself, this is a scary world we live in now. And so people are getting a little bit more afraid to venture out by themselves now. So do you have tips for people like that?
Yes, and that's part of that new chapter that I added called The Genesis of the Traveling Spirit. And women talk about their approach to travel. And one woman wrote a whole travel story about her 10 years of traveling the world as a solo traveler. And she discusses all the aspects of traveling alone and the pros and cons of solo travel and group travel. So that's and then also for me as a primarily a solo traveler, I just really encourage women to take the time to learn about the culture, dress appropriately,
Yes.
learn a little bit of the language, yeah. And I think it's a smart idea to have a contact in the country you're going to, so that
Right.
always somebody you can stay in contact with and your people can stay in contact, so somebody knows where you are at all times. So
Well,
if something happens, you'll have a
funny story. This is my last story. When Donald Trump was, when he was elected president, and when was he in 2016? I was stationed in Belgium, and Ryanair, that's kind of the low budget airline out in Europe. They decided to have this big sale, and they were selling plane tickets super cheap. You can get tickets for like $16. That's how cheap they were.
Yeah.
So I purchased a round trip ticket to Bordeaux, Belgium. I mean, excuse me, Bordeaux, France. Loved it. I also purchased a ticket to Germany. To this, for some reason I'm having a brain fart, but a city in Germany. And there I decided not to get a hotel. So what I did was I flew out there and figured I would spend the entire day, and then I would take an early morning flight back home to go home, so I wouldn't get a hotel. So the first thing I did when I landed there is I went to Berlin. That's where I went. Because I had heard great things about the city. So as soon as I landed in Berlin, I went to see the Berlin Wall, and I ran into this Dutch couple, and we're laughing and talking, and I was trying to take pictures of myself by the wall, and then they offered to take pictures of me. I took pictures of them. And then we decided we wanted to go sightseeing. So I took a picture of all three of us, and I posted it to my Facebook page saying, I just met this really cool couple. And then I didn't post again for a few hours. So we went sightseeing, we looked at different things. And then a few hours later, I went and looked at my Facebook, and a friend of mine said, Rhonda, are you okay? I haven't heard from you since you posted that picture with those strangers. And, and it made me feel good that he was actually paying attention and wanted to make sure that I was okay. So I think that it's good when you do, even if you're traveling by yourself, posting pictures of yourself, letting people know where you are, because people are watching. People want to know that you're safe. And even if you don't think that they're paying attention, they're paying attention.
Yeah. And then and I think that's so important, another way to stay connected. But for me, I have kind of a vulnerable living situation, so I can't let people know when I'm traveling. So
that makes sense.
I can't post anything on Facebook. And I was doing a TV show for American Airlines, and I didn't read, as a lawyer, it's a shame, I didn't read the contract where it said I had to post while I was doing this TV show. And I said, I can't post that, and anyway, we finally worked it all out. But You know, sometimes it's not a good idea to let a lot of
People
people
know
know
that you're
travel,
not at
but
home.
I specifically, you know, let
Right.
somebody
See, it
know.
was safe for me to
Well,
be able to post that,
especially
but
if
you're
you,
absolutely right. I mean, because I also had friends who didn't post any of their vacation photos until they got
until they
back
got
home.
back.
Yes.
Because you don't want to let people know that there's nobody at your house.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Right. Now, if
it
somebody's
is a
at
judgment call.
home, then it probably can work. If somebody's still at your
Yeah.
house
Mhm.
and you're just not there,
Yeah.
then that would be different.
Yeah.
And one thing I've noticed, I've seen several Facebook groups of Black women who travel.
Wow.
And they, a lot of them are women who normally would travel alone,
Mhm.
but they formed a group of women who can travel alone with other people.
Yeah.
So, and my daughter, she went to Greece last year, and she flew, and then she went to uh, Santorini, Mykonos, and I forgot the other city.
Oh, wow. I'm
But
jealous of her.
yeah, well, we're next year we're going on the Mediterranean cruise, and we're going to Greece and Turkey and Italy on the cruise.
Mm.
But she has a Black travel agent that she uses, and the travel agent plans the whole trip. And each place she'll have like places for them to eat. They went horseback riding. So they have planned activities, and she does it as a package.
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
a
the
way
name
to
of the
do it.
travel agent, but she really likes traveling that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you can afford a travel agent, yeah, why not let an expert do that for you? But if money is a
Exactly.
challenge and you
Yeah.
need to get free advice, you can just post it on Black Travel Movement, and like within 3 hours, any question you want answered will be answered. They've got over 400,000
You've
members,
got a point there.
and it's just
Okay, so
unbelievable.
it's called, what is it called?
Black Travel Movement on Facebook.
Oh, so it's
And
a Facebook group or a page or whatever.
Facebook group.
Okay,
Yeah,
Black
there's
Travel
lots.
Movement. Well, that's
There's
good to
lots of
know.
Black Facebook groups out there, but that just happens to be the largest one. And when I was
Yeah,
on
that
my
means they've been around a long time.
yeah, and when I was
Mhm.
on my way to Peru, and I didn't know anybody, didn't have any contacts, and I posted on there, and within a matter of days, I had my whole itinerary all just charted out for me. And one guy said, my goddaughter lives in El Carmen, which is a Black community just 3 hours south of Lima. Would you go visit my goddaughter and take her a gift for me? I mean, it just ended
Oh,
up being this
wow.
fabulous trip, just through people giving me advice and tips from on
Yeah,
Facebook.
that's really good.
I didn't say when
My
I was traveling. I just said I'm traveling.
right, right. You didn't say when.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we planted the travel bug or seed in our daughter when we took her on cruises when she was
Oh,
a child.
oh,
So by the
wow.
time she was an adult, I think she had been on like 6 cruises. And so
Really?
I said, whenever, whoever
You're
you
better
meet,
than me.
whatever man you meet, he needs to be able to take you on a cruise, or he needs to be cruise minded, because that's what she enjoys doing,
Mm-hmm.
for travel. And I love it too. I love cruises. So last year we went to Alaska, she and I,
Wow.
which was that was the most beautiful
I
cruise as
would
far
think
as
so.
scenery.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Something I've
beautiful
never done and
scenery.
want to do.
It's beautiful. It's
Indian.
untouched, nature. It's
Mm-hmm.
just beautiful. It's not developed, so you get to see beautiful lakes and the trees and the ice, and it's just gorgeous. And so I think traveling is great. People, even traveling within the United States, a
Yes.
lot of people don't travel within the U.S., and the United States has a huge. It's so different.
Mm-hmm.
Different places you go. We went on a road trip to California, um, in 2021, and then next year we're going on a road trip to Montana and Wyoming. I haven't
Wow.
been. That's beautiful country.
It is.
Um, I've seen the pictures. I want to see how it actually looks in real life. So,
Yeah.
is there anywhere you want to go that you haven't been?
Well, part of my travel philosophy is I try to go to a new country every year, and also go to have a beach vacation because I'm a long distance fitness swimmer. And then also to go
Oh,
back to Paris, France, where I go every year as well because I love it there so much. So my new country this year is going to be Portugal. I've never been to Portugal. And I'm
Okay.
going to do something similar to what you did in terms of cruising. I'm going to be going on a river cruise, which I've never done before.
I've
It's
heard
actually
about
going to be a
those.
press trip that I'm going on because this bicycle adventure company has merged forces with a river cruise company, and they're going to be putting our bicycles on the cruise ship, and then we're going to be going down the Douro River in Portugal and stopping different places along the way and biking into little towns and villages and seeing natural wonders and things like that. So I'm really excited about that adventure, as well as ultimately ending up in Lisbon, which I've never been. And I understand there's a huge Black American community there. I'm looking forward to meeting them and learning more about their world. So that's a tentative plan for something new that I haven't tried.
Well, I probably won't ever catch up with what you do with travel. But I want to do more of it, and I'm going somewhere every year, and
Yes.
preferably at least a cruise every year too, in addition to somewhere else, because I love cruising. It's to me, it's the best vacation.
Yeah.
So one of our viewers said that this has been good information. She said, I have a friend who loves to travel and she'll purchase your book and pass it on. That was Anquinette Wyndham. She watches the show regularly. So she's going to pass on your book. I think this is fascinating.
Yeah, so you can find it on Amazon. It's on Amazon.
Okay, you can find the book on Amazon. And I heard about your book being released through a press release. I don't remember. I think it might have been posted on the Griot or Essence or Black News or one of those in March when it first came out. So I had to find you.
Oh.
I had to find your email. It took me
okay.
to find you. So,
I'm glad you
but
did.
that's how we became aware. So when you were releasing the book, whatever press you put out about it, it did
made its
circulate.
way to you.
Yeah, it
Good.
did circulate. So has there been a country that you've been to that you really would not want to go back to?
That I would not want to go back to. Right now, that's a hard one.
That you're willing to say.
Hard to say because you're on your way to Greece, but Greece just did not work out for me. And you're not going to have this experience because you're going a different way. You're going on a cruise ship. I went by myself, and I had my hair in braids, and they thought I was African, and they don't really like African people there because Africa's really close to, that part of
I think she said Egypt was close to where she was.
Yeah, so they really gave me a rough time of it. So I probably wouldn't go back unless it was a free press trip, then perhaps. But it just soured my taste for that place. I had planned to go for 3 weeks, and after 5 days, I said no more. After so many people just harassed me, so I ended up just going to Egypt for a whole month.
Yeah, she said Egypt was close.
Yeah.
And she also told me about Greece, and I don't know if it was one of the cities or the whole country, because we're a cat family, and my daughter loves cats, like really adores cats. And she said cats just kind of roam free in Greece.
Yes, they do. You see them everywhere.
You see them everywhere. She was loving it.
I know.
So,
you'll see cats in restaurants. They're sitting on the tables.
Yeah, and we don't let our cats.
Not.
We make sure he is on the floor where he belongs, and if not, he gets sprayed with water. So anyway, Elaine, we're at the end of our show, but show your book cover one more time.
Okay, go girl.
Go girl 2.
It's
a Black woman's book of travel and adventure, and it's been fascinating just to hear about all your world travels.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
And don't think I didn't hear you slip in that you're a long distance swimmer.
Yes, I am.
That's hot. I like
a mile,
that.
3 times a week for the last probably 40 years.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great exercise, and one reason I'm perfectly healthy, thank goodness.
I've heard
something to do with it. You got to invest that time in your body, or it'll take the time. You can give it the time, or it'll take the time.
You do. Well, thanks again, and happy trails and travel.
Thank you. All right, blessed.
All right.
All the best. Thank you.
Good night.
Show.